within hours, days, the first 100 days of a Unite under a General Secretary with me, if you like, is the election of officials, where members decide who represents them, not appointments where you're told who you have from one day to the next. So not less, because there's some things that are happening, it's good. Community branches where unemployed people, I'm unemployed, you can join a community branch for 50p a week, so it's not cost punitive. And community branch, which is what it is, it can organise around the community. And this is going to be one that I see, something that we need far more of, because community branches are good. They've been very slow setting up. 8 months before I was placed, we still haven't got a bank account. So I don't say less, I say not even the same. More community branches quicker. Get involved in, if it's the bedroom tax and there's an eviction in the offing, let's have the Unite community branch join with that street, that neighbourhood, and ring fence it. It might well be a Unite member that's being forced with eviction. You know, the working poor that we hear about. Workplace branch organisation, which is going on at the moment. Workplace is where the power lies. Remember what I said about my education, about the dynamic in the workplace and how you can really turn things round. But they're so slow, it's unbelievable. And by the way, it's by diktat. Workplace organisation, of course, but members should decide what branch they're in. So it's more involvement, more say, more control. And this is really where I have a passion. Rank and file grassroots is not a catchphrase, it's an action. So instead of a formulaic, bureaucratic organisation, it's where the members have control. We have rank and file sector organisation in all sectors. Finance, health, the construction is the model, not the exception. And where rank and file electricians took matters in their own hands because Unite was behind the game, where 8 employers decided to renege on national agreements, you know, sweep them to one side, where you give the employee a date, come to work on that day and all your conditions changed. If you don't come to work, you're sacked. The union takes forever to organise. 500 of our members did it themselves and embarked on civil disobedience, taking the fight to the employer, blocking Oxford Street or wherever else these rogue 8 employers, Balfour Beatties and Skanskas and Lang O'Rourke's, taking the fight to them where they ate their fine dined meals. And the point there is that members decide, members discuss and then do. And the union supports, throws its support. Vestas on the Isle of Wight, in my view, and the Olympics projects are opportunities. And this is the point I guess I'd like to finish on, unless there's any more questions. To recognise an opportunity and maximise its potential is what Unite can be uniquely, if you like, the vanguard. Because Unite is the biggest union in the country with 1.5 million members. It's potentially the most powerful and seldom realises its potential. So when something presents itself, Vestas on the Isle of Wight was a manufacturer making a profit. It did turbine blades, green energies, which I passionately support. Not 1,000 years of nuclear waste to damage the planet, but green energies and 1 million jobs that can go along with it in design, manufacture and construction. Vestas on the Isle of Wight, 600 employees, only 14 in the union. Going to invest 1 minute, pull the plug the next. That's what employers do, chasing cheaper labour across the globe. But they occupied. This workforce occupied without a trade union organisation. Probably just as well, because an occupation is illegal. We've been criminalised, and what trade unions very often do is they recoil when there's something illegal instead of throwing their support behind it, right over wrong. So the union went nowhere near it, but it was popular. The eyes of the world was on Vestas on the Isle of Wight and that occupation, and we were nowhere to be seen. If I were General Secretary then, or the next Vestas, I would be on the roof with the occupiers. So the eyes of the world would be on us for the reasons that I've just described. This thing is right. What the employers was doing was wrong. And then I think it's the greatest recruiting tool of all. Wouldn't that factory have been saved? I think so. Would it have been taken into public ownership, which I subscribe to? Yes. Would it still be making turbine blades? Absolutely. And would we have 600 members there in that factory? Yes, probably 6,000 on the Isle of Wight, 60,000 more in the UK and beyond. So leaders lead and lead by example, but members should control. And the Olympics project is the shining example where it had an end date. Things can overrun financially. That could not overrun with the date. And we were one of the lead unions on that site. Wouldn't you imagine? I bet you've negotiated, whatever it might be in your life or your work experience. I know I have. Anyone who negotiates would know, whether you're selling something on eBay, the best time to do it is when somebody else wants that off of you. And we had that power. We could have negotiated with the then government, the Labour government who commissioned it, to say that the Olympics project would not get built until the first 3,200 illegally blacklisted construction workers are offered jobs on that site. And in doing so, we would have won. They would have to have capitulated. We could have then taken on and defeated the anti-union laws. That is by far and away the biggest betrayal of the 13 years, 3 terms of a Labour government, funded to the hilt by the trade unions to the tune of £10 million, brought in by Thatcher and the Tories, left unchanged by Labour, unchallenged by the TUC and my own union. And those anti-union laws leave us shackled now. They criminalise trade unionists. My first strike was in support of the NHS and the nurses. If I did that now, it would be illegal. But I need to do it. I believe we should be doing it. If they're closing that hospital, that school, that library, why shouldn't I be able to withdraw my labour in support? I might need that hospital. My kids might go to that school. I might go to that library. Every job loss is secondary action against us. Every job is a family, is a person. And that in itself gives me the right to support them. I did say the Olympics was the last point I wanted to make. In actual fact, it's not. As a General Secretary, the relationship that Unite has with Labour Party is one of a one-way relationship. We plough our members' money into it and we get so little in return. My view is that our members' money is precious. It should be held in clenched fist until Labour do the right things. It's after the event. We only support Labour MPs that vote for our policies, and we were against PFI, and Labour MPs, one after another, voted for it. And of course we're paying for that forever and a day. We were against the raising of the retirement age, and Labour MPs voted for it. I wouldn't pay them a penny piece. Labour councillors, Labour councils who vote for cuts wouldn't get a penny piece of Unite's money. Those that vote against, of course, because we're not going to pay the price of someone else's crisis, would get the support of Unite. And my very last point, I promise, is as General Secretary, I would take an average wage, because I think that's the way leaders lead and show an example. I would take an average wage, why not, of those members that we represent. Not for me the 6-figure sum, the 100,000, the 110,000, 120,000 or more. The lifestyle that our members do not live. That to me is the end result. Appointed officials on a job for life, a General Secretary on a 6-figure sum, none of them living the lifestyle, the hurt, the pain that we feel, the pensions cut that we get. That's the way to reconnect. Be part of the movement, not adrift from the movement, so that when we say something, my rhetoric becomes the reality. And then when you stare in the eyes of the opposition, the government, the condemned government, or the Labour governments to come, whichever persuasion, or the employers who are meting out the cuts to our pay terms and conditions, they believe what you say. Unite will realise its potential. They will recognise the opportunities and maximise them, and will get the union back to hand it back. And members will feel a worth. They'll be inspired. They'll have a confidence of themselves to rise up against this crisis, because I believe in a better world. Do you know, if we can see the Berlin Wall come down, if we can see the end of apartheid, if we can smash the poll tax and see the end of Thatcher, we can certainly become the next General Secretary of Unite, kick Cameron and Clegg, the horsefly, where they belong, into the dustbin of history, and maybe even the New Workers' Party, whoever wants to replace them. But it starts here. It starts with the movement, and it starts with us reconnecting right now.